Well, let's talk a little bit about kind of COVID-19 and how that impacted you.
Yeah, so with COVID-19 happening when it all first started, nothing was really happening at work. We were still running normal, and then it came down to we were working kind of split shifts or scattered shifts, and then we went to where they talked about furloughs. And so I was actually furloughed. I was supposed to be furloughed for 2 months, and I ended up being furloughed for 1 month. So I was laid off. I did file for unemployment for that month, and thankfully God provided, and that went through quickly. Sometimes it doesn't. So after a month, my boss called me and said that we would like to have you back, and like the 6th of July. It did have some negative aspects of it. When you get furloughed or you get laid off or have, a lot of emotions go through your mind of,
Sure.
well, am I not good enough? Why am I chosen? Those kinds of things. And the positive side of it was I got to spend more time with my family than I've ever got to spend, because I was at home. And so there was a lot of things we got to do together. But that unknown was definitely always in the back of my mind of, well, what happens if it, gets worse and I don't have a job?
Yeah.
What do I do then? But also in the back of my mind, I know God would always take care of us.
And how long have you had this job that you have now?
I've been there 5 years.
5 years.
So yeah,
Okay.
probably the job I've loved more than any other job I've ever had.
Well, that wasn't the only stressful time. You also serve on the elder board here at First Baptist.
Yeah.
And it has been, I mean, I know this because I'm one of the pastors here,
Right.
but from the middle of March until we're now the middle of September, it's been, it's kind of been a wild ride, hasn't it?
It has been nothing like I've ever experienced before. And you think you make the right decision, and then you feel like, well, I have a lot of people upset with me, or upset with the board as a whole. And it's hard to grasp. It's hard to take in and just say, okay, God, I want to love people, but I don't know how to love them, in this. And I just think about, it's my job to serve in the capacity that I serve because I feel like God's called me to do it. Yeah. But it's not always easy. I feel like through many prayers with the elders on my own, that I feel like we come together and try to come together as a group. Though we all have different minds, we all have different ways of thinking, I feel like we come together well. Not every time, but I think we come together well on most things. And through prayer, through trusting in Christ that He's guiding us and leading us, and we're men, we're faulty, so we're not always going to make the perfect decision. Hopefully from mistakes that we have made, we can learn from those, and we can say, God, we do this different if it happens again, or or something else happened. Yeah. Even when I disagree with somebody, I can disagree with them respectfully and let them know why I feel like this decision is important, and this is why I feel this way, and I can respect them if they disagree, and love them even in that. And so,
do you think some of the challenge is trying to care for everyone spiritually when people are at spiritually different places?
I do. It's hard to know where everyone is spiritually,
right?
During these times.
Yeah.
And you can only do so much as one person, or even as a board of 6 guys. You can only do so much. And so trying to reach out to that it's been difficult.
What kind of good things have you seen come out of this last season? It's been a challenging season for the board, for sure.
Yeah.
But have there been any positives that you've seen for either us as a board or for the church as a whole?
Oh, for sure. I think that a lot of the positive things that have come out of it is we get a lot of emails, a lot of phone calls from members of the church that just say, hey, just want to say, just simple, even the simple little words that say, hey, I just want to say you're doing a great job. Goes a million miles. And you're like, because we don't know every right decision. We don't know every right answer. And so when you get an email like that, or you get a phone call or a text like that, that is incredible, especially when you're feeling down, and there was a point where I was just feeling down and beat up. And I ended up with one email and one text. And I was like, Lord, thank you so much for that. That just was a huge encouragement to me. And I think as a board as a whole, we have just been extremely blessed by the amount of people that have come forward and said something kind, a kind word, or sent a kind email, things like that. It's just been incredible.
Remind me how long, or remind us, how long have you been an elder?
Probably about 5 years.
5 years now.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty close to that.
Final question, just how do you feel like God has been shaping you, Pat Sagerman, through the last 6 months?
For me personally, it's just taught me a reliance, a continual daily reliance on God, and helping me to understand Him in all of this, and understanding, God, He is in control through tough times like this and the frustrations. And then yet I look back and I go, God, you have so many blessings in my life. You give me my family. Wow. That is, I'm sorry, is a blessing in itself, and thinking about that and going, God, you give them breath every day. I am so thankful for that. You protect them from sicknesses. Every day I get to see them. Every day they wake up is a huge blessing. So, through all that, because you have that fear in your mind, well, what if COVID hits one of my family members and they don't survive? Those kinds of things. And my family and my friends, my church family is a blessing. And so when I think about those things, everything else can be set aside.
It's clear as you talk that your family is very important to you. And I could just see the emotion kind of coming from that. Can you tell us maybe why your family is so important to you?
Well, I feel like that I don't deserve them. And I've also lost a child. So, knowing that he, but I know he's in heaven without a doubt. Right. And so, but knowing that life is so fragile and that very split second that can be taken from you. And so, knowing that, I think every day for every breath that they get, because I know that can be gone, as well as myself. I know that I can be gone in a second. And so I think that's probably, why I think I have a different perspective since losing my child. And, this was almost 20 years ago. And yet still, that's pretty fresh in your mind of, could they take their last breath? And so for me, I never want to take that for granted, and so, and God has definitely changed my way of thinking since that happened. It's like, wow.
Awesome. Thanks, Pat.
Yeah, you bet.
It's a wrap.